biofuels in the Chesapeake watershed is an issue that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Chesapeake Bay Commission have both taken on as champions and have been working together for quite a while. In the past year, their work led toward a summit on cellulosic biofuels. And in general, I have to say that with all of the controversies over ethanol that have gone on around the country, the work that they've done, it seems to me, is still right on track to move this region away from the classic ethanol and into the next generation as quickly as possible, and to play a leadership role in doing that. And I think that you couldn't ask for two better people to come up here and show you the leadership role that the Bay is playing than Russ Redding from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, the Deputy Secretary, and Marel Raub, the Pennsylvania Director of the Chesapeake Bay Commission, if you will.
Thank you, BMAT. I'm going to begin by just giving some background on this issue, and I'll be followed up by Russell Redding, who's going to focus on the points that the Executive Committee principals are focusing on today. From the Chesapeake Bay Commission standpoint, we first started our interest in this particular topic back in early 2007 when there was tremendous growth in the ethanol industry, primarily corn ethanol, out in the Midwestern United States. This was prompted by a lot of economic factors, also federal renewable fuel standards, and although this was primarily in the Midwest, there were several plants being proposed for this particular region. And as we were looking at what was going on in the Midwest, and just naturally with grain prices following that, among other worldwide conditions affecting grain prices, we were starting to see cropping decisions, new cropping decisions being made on the part of farmers, increasing their planting of corn. And we wanted to see just what that would mean here in the Chesapeake watershed, where agriculture is second only to forestry in the land use here in the watershed, and therefore we are also asking agriculture to provide the largest amount of nutrient and sediment reductions to the bay. From that, when we started our study, therefore, we really wanted to look at these new cropping decisions that were being made and what that would mean for our nutrient and sediment loadings at a time when we're really looking to accelerate nutrient and sediment reductions. Our analysis looked at an increase of 300,000 acres of corn in the watershed. There were some other reports at that time coming out with 1 million new acres, but we focused on the number of 300,000 was our best advice at that time, and it appears that what we actually realized was about 180,000 new acres of corn in the past 2 years. From that, though, just that 300,000 that we looked at could potentially increase our nitrogen loadings to the bay to the tune of 5 million additional pounds to the bay, not the direction that we wanted to be going. And that was at the current level of best management practices in 2007, the current level of implementation. On the other hand, if we planted instead 300,000 acres of switchgrass in the watershed, we would start to see that reduction that we're looking for, all the way up to the potential for 1 million new acres of switchgrass planted, and apparently there is acreage available in this watershed for planting of switchgrass, not taking away from traditional row crops. This led to a few conclusions. First of all, we need to increase the level of best management practices on all ag land across the watershed. That is one of the best ways to achieve new nutrient and sediment reductions. And you've heard about some of the actions to that end with the Farm Bill work, Virginia's championing of agriculture best management practices, and there's also been quite a bit of work in Pennsylvania over the past 2 years to increase agricultural best management practices on the land. Also, however, looking forward, we should position the Chesapeake region as a national leader in the emerging cellulosic biofuels industry. And that would be the industry that would use perennial grasses like switchgrass, woody biomass such as forest / fast-growing trees, et cetera, et cetera. As I mentioned, forest is the single largest land use in the Bay watershed. At the 2000 Executive Council meeting, the Commission agreed to continue our championship work on the biofuels issue, and we were very pleased to have the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania step forward as a co-champion of this issue. We realized that although we had 2 co-champions of this issue, it really needed to be a region-wide effort to truly make the region a leader in this next generation of energy. And so the champions agreed to hold a cellulosic biofuel summit in Pennsylvania in September of this year. Leading up to the summit, the champions convened a panel of 22 experts from throughout the watershed. These were leaders from the public, private, and academic sectors who all had particular expertise in the area of agriculture, biofuels, whether it was from the industry perspective or the research perspective, to guide us and help plan our roadmap for exactly how this region could be a leader, and if we could indeed be a leader.